Something about this feels like home. Something about it I already know. Something about this.
Aloha and welcome to It's All About the Keiki. I have a super special episode today. I'm very excited to introduce to you my special guest and friend, Coach Perlas Bardouche. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
Today we're going to be talking about something that's very near and dear to my heart, which is making stronger girls.
Yes.
I have a daughter, and full disclosure, she is lucky to be on your volleyball team, as a member of your team, and we're really grateful for that. And so that gave me the idea that maybe we could share with our audience a little bit about what does it take to make strong girls. Volleyball is such an important sport here in Hawaii, and as a volleyball player and coach, you probably have a lot of thoughts about this phenomenon in Hawaii, this sport that people love so much.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about all of that. Let's start with you.
Okay.
You have a history of being an athlete from the time you were really young.
Yes, I started, really grew up as a tomboy, so everything was volleyball, contact sport, volleyball, and then football, got into basketball. So I started off really, really early, just being around the boys. So it was really, really easy to compete and have that competition feel about myself,
Right.
And the level of play, because I was the youngest, was even more expectation for me to be able to play. I needed to compete and hold my own.
Right. So you grew up in a family with older siblings.
An older brother, yes.
Okay.
But my cousins and all the people around the neighborhood were all boys.
And that was here in
older.
Hawaii?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dad was an athlete.
Dad was a professional boxer from the Philippines. So, that was great genes.
Right. You were lucky to have good genes that
Yes.
made you already on the athletic spectrum, like, whoo, superhuman. Okay.
Yes.
So you grew up playing sports, loving sports.
Mm-hmm. And then I started coaching about 7 years ago, which I never thought I would enjoy. Because as an athlete, it's hard to then describe to someone else how to do what we do. So I found it very humbling, very quickly.
Right.
But then to watch the progress of these little children was priceless.
Right.
To
Right.
see them grow from coming into not knowing how to throw a ball or to bump a volleyball, and then to see them 2 months later actually bumping the ball with great form and technique and being energized and happy was really, really cool.
Right. And as an athlete yourself, you had a lot of coaching growing up. I would imagine you had good coaches and bad coaches. And you probably sort of made mental notes along the way. Ooh, that was a comfortable experience, or that was a growth experience, or that experience made me feel like junk.
Yeah. Yeah. Coaching for volleyball, not so much, just one. But coaching for boxing, because my dad was a boxer, so he coached us. So that was really cool, but hard at the same time. Pretty much self-taught. But what I did recognize was the coaches just in general. Like you said, the good coaches that are inspiring. And I'm not saying the bad coaches that are yelling, but the kids learn differently.
Right.
So it's being able to adapt and recognize how kids learned.
Right.
What inspired them? What made them not so inspirational?
Right.
It's finding the different personalities that you have within these families that are coming to you, and you have to adjust to their family culture as well, and how these kids just, again, how they coexist within each other.
So one of the things I love about your team, Koa Kamali'i Wahine, is that it feels to me that your girls are all taught from the very first time they're with you that respect for adults and respect for each other is one of the most important cornerstones of being a good human being.
Absolutely.
And I notice whenever I come to a practice and I see your girls, they all come up and hug the aunties and say hello and look them in the eye. And to me, that is something that is so precious and so missing in today's world.
Thank you.
Is that an important part of your coaching philosophy, or is that something that just is an extension of who you are?
It's both. I grew up with being respectful to others, especially the older generation. Grandma was all about you say hi to everyone. If you have something, you make sure you can share with everyone. You help kapuna without asking. You know, you help someone when there's in trouble without asking. You just kind of step in and be that person to support and to serve as much as possible.
Okay, weird question, but I got to ask because it just crossed my mind. We live in this world of kind of stranger danger, over alertness with kids, you know, and one of the things I've been very conscious of with my kids is to not create stranger danger. I find that to be, for me, problematic because I think the last thing we need in the world right now is more fear of others. I think we need to be, you know, more loving. Obviously, we have to be cautious and protective, too. We can't send our kids out into situations that are going to result in harm for them. So is that something you've weighed as you've coached this team? Sort of, how do we marry the idea of being helpful and hugging others, but also protecting our own, you know, sort of security?
Well, within Koa Kamali Wahine, I've been blessed to be able to choose the families that I wanted to invite. And then the families graciously accept the invitation to come on board. So the foundation has been laid already to the families and their culture. The stranger danger thing, the girls learn Kaji Kempo. This year they're learning Kempo. So it's a way to protect themselves as well as others around them that can't protect themselves. And it's also letting them know, you know what, when you have that aki feeling deep down, then you know that it's time for you to walk away, acknowledge it, and just walk away from the situation or the person.
Trust your gut.
Trust your gut, 100%. Yeah, it's about the feel, you know, because we give out the good and positives, right? So if there's something, and there's no saying what it could be, but once you have that, that yucky feeling, then just say hi, and you can stand from afar and say the hi. You know, you don't have to do the hugs and kisses all the time. It's not being disrespectful if that person gives you that yucky feeling for you to just go, hi uncle, hi auntie, and then
keep your distance.
Keep your distance, yes.
Okay, so you're teaching them about all of these. It's not just sort of a blanket hug everybody thing.
No.
It's more about how you exist in the world with a positive attitude.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Good.
Yes.
I love that. That's, to me, been one of the most impressive things. All right, so let's get back to, you grow up as an athlete in a family of athletes.
Yes.
And you obviously understood, it seems to me, the importance of sort of respect for your body, respect for the training, respect for discipline, and you wanted to share that with the world. Okay.
Yes. So Koa Kamali Wahine came about 2 years ago.
Right.
And again, that was based on past experiences of how I've seen shy, quiet girls become the loud ones and become leaders within the volleyball arena. But I wanted to share more with these girls, meaning life skills. So the girls, again, learned martial arts, yoga, they had CPR training. They went to a cyberbullying, cyber presentation, security presentation. We just recently went to a DOE forum in regards to bullying and what's happening and how the Department of Education is actually becoming stricter with enforcing rules. There's not consequences in regards to bullies, which has been wonderful. The girls do Hawaiian culture. You know, I'm Hawaiian, this is Hawaii, so I wanted them to also learn the culture of the past Hawaiians and how they connected with Earth and people. Again, there's that people connection.
And all of this leads to the idea that a more well-rounded person makes a better athlete?
Makes a better person.
Okay.
A contributor to society. You know, someone who is empowered, confident, strong, that will become positive impact leaders for us, which is what we're missing. You know, our girls are growing up with technology. You know, and there is so many, there's good and bad with technology, but having them understand the positive of everything. And when it's not positive, then to walk away from it. For them to be uniquely themselves, they're going to be challenged. So to have that confidence that, yes, I can have a great conversation with you, and I can defend who I am, but if it does become physical, for whatever the reason, they're also there to protect themselves, and that's where the martial arts come into play. Yeah.
So the volleyball aspect I'm really curious about, because to me it seems like girls need to learn to rely on themselves, right? We all should rely on ourselves.
Right.
But I also feel that there's a lot of sort of negative competitive energy between girls, and it's sort of fostered in social media, and it's, you know, we're becoming very superficial, and a lot of what's on social media is about how you look and who you're hanging with and what you're doing and what you have.
Right.
And so what I love about volleyball, and I'm curious about your thoughts, is that it seems to require the girls to work together.
Correct.
So it's the sport where there is no one person shines, right? If you're hitting the ball over the net by yourself, that's not considered a good team player, right? You need to work with the others to get the ball over the net in the best way.
Yes.
You can't do that alone.
Yes,
so
you
you
can't do
need
that
the
alone.
other girls.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about why volleyball as a girls' team sport is so important for girl development.
It's but one, because I love the sport,
Right.
and two, it is the chemistry of 6 girls on the court, and also whoever's standing on the sideline. You know, to have that trust that your partner, and they call them partners, have your back.
Okay.
That without any question, they will ensure that they'll touch the next ball better as best as they can. To have the communication, the constant talking, you know, the basic fundamentals in regards to, you know, technique, encouragement. It's not, I'm going to tell you that you did something wrong, but it's how can I make it better for you? And that's what I've totally enjoyed, was to see each girl take ownership on how they can become better, on how they can be better for their team, not just for themselves. And there's never a blame of, oh, you didn't do this correctly, or, you know, you're not focused. It was, let's get focused, let's get into a rhythm, we got the next ball. So that's great. And the chemistry on the court is also important.
Right.
And the girls love to feel, we like to feel belonged to. Yeah, so having, again, a safe environment where these girls can truly be themselves is where they shine. And they just play.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and what's nice about that is it doesn't really matter if you're great. If the rest of your team isn't great, then you're not great.
Right.
Right. So you really have created that atmosphere, or maybe it's inherent in volleyball as a sport, that you have to all be good and you have to bring each other up.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, you know, there's other coaches and teams that look at it just maybe 1 or 2 players. But I definitely build on the entire team.
Right.
Because I feel that that's how we all get better, you know, as a tribe, as a group of people coming together we will work on our weaknesses so that our strengths become better. And there's always a complement to each other. Yeah.
Volleyball is so popular in Hawaii.
Yes.
Why
it
do you
is.
think that is?
To the history, we've always had great volleyball players.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of Olympians.
We do.
Right?
We're very
Born and
lucky.
raised. Yes,
Yeah.
we are. Both indoor and in beach. But for me, volleyball has just been, it's a way of gathering as well, because you can play with, you know, co-ed, you can play with guys, play with girls, you can kind of mix it up.
Old and young can play
old
together.
and young can play together,
right?
you know, connecting the generations. Been really awesome to have the younger girls learn from the older girls. The mentorship
Right.
within the program is great. So yeah.
It is a
like
fun
to-
sport, and I love
is.
now that I've been involved a little bit and going down to watch the beach tournaments,
Right.
which are so fun because they're right there on the edge of Waikiki. You've got this great community of local beach volleyball people coming
Yes.
out, supporting each other, like hanging out all day. You've got the backdrop of the ocean. You can go jump in if you get too hot. And then you've got this parade of tourists coming behind on Kalakaua Avenue, like looking in and watching it. It's just a fabulous place. So I encourage anyone who hasn't been to a tournament to get down there and watch one,
Yes.
because it's a
Yes.
really nice energy, isn't it?
It is, and we've got little ones now. I mean, you've got girls starting out at 7 years old playing in tournaments, 2-man beach tournaments. You
That's
know, where
crazy.
it is, because back in our day we didn't have that, right?
Yeah.
So you got girls from 7 years old as up to 60s playing, and like you said, it's one big community. Everybody's learning from each other.
Right.
And totally amazed by how these little ones have just they're doing things that we never thought we would ever do, right, back then.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think that kids nowadays are just more confident in general, or they're given more opportunities to sort of show off what they got, or why do you think it is?
I think it's a little bit of both, but definitely the opportunity. We have, again, with technology, you have instant access to a lot of different learning apps, right? And you have direct connection now with athletes, professional athletes. You know, so once you find one that inspires you, you can connect directly,
Right.
and automatic, pretty much. You know, so I think that's where that's coming from. And more other adults are actually looking to creating opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's been great.
Well, and I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this, but you know, I know that football is a beloved sport,
Yes.
and you know, more and more studies are coming out showing that, you know, especially at the younger ages, you know, even a couple of direct hits and tackles can really change the child's brain chemistry or brain structure or, you know, brain security. So, you know, maybe folks don't want to subject their children to tackle football as young as they used to maybe would have thought about doing it. Are there any downsides to starting volleyball young? Is there any wear and tear on the body that we have to be careful of? Or
Well, you know, I think with any sport, yes, but in general, it's a pretty mellow sport. Beach volleyball will last forever. I think indoor definitely a little bit more impactful because the ground's
you're
harder.
banging on the court. Yeah. Okay.
But if we let our children just be children, and we develop them as they're learning the way that they need to be developed in their own unique way, I think that you have awesome results from all of that. But it's like everything else, right? You're building me. So you're building your physical strength, your spiritual strength, relationships, and then mental. So as long as we can connect that and with nature,
right.
I think we'll be all good to go.
And more studies are supporting that way of thinking. You know, sort of, I think we went through a pendulum swing where people were very focused on, you know, figuring out where they wanted their kid to go, and then that one thing became that kid's main bread and butter. That was your diet. You are doing full-time basketball and that's it, or you're doing full-time viola. But I think more and more studies are showing that a well-rounded child is a healthier, happier, and even more successful child. So that's sort of how your club is structured, it sounds like. It's not just volleyball. It's not just work on your skills, work on your bumping, work on your hitting.
No.
It's creating well-rounded
people. And also with their experiences, right? Because they're bringing in their own experiences. So they share what they do, you know, from whether it be violin lessons or from a hiker or a sailor. You know, it's wonderful to have them have those wonderful conversations and say, hey, my dad can take us sailing today. You want to learn?
Yeah.
And they're like,
personal experience, right?
Personal experience.
Okay. Yeah, we love that.
Right? Or, hey, I can dance hula. You want to learn a hula? You know, I mean, it's been so cool to have the girls share, you know, their opportunities with each other as well.
So for a parent who is determined to create a future Wahine star, or to get their child to Stanford on a volleyball scholarship, I don't even know if that exists, but whatever, to like, okay, so my daughter needs to play volleyball at the highest level. She needs to get a scholarship to wherever. What advice do you have, or what would you say to a parent like that who's maybe looking at your kind of a club, which is, you know, one day of Kaju Kempo, one day of community service, one day of beach training, one day of court training. You know, what would you say to someone who...
I tell my parents, listen to your child. Make sure that's what she wants. If she wants that, then let's plan it. Let's plan it together with her. She has to have an input. She has to buy into what she needs to do. Because we can take them, we can lead them, but if they haven't bought into it, then it's not going to work, you know. It's all about the girls. It's truly about having a strong group of people around them to support and to let them know that, you know, whatever you want to do, we're here to help you. But you also have to be a leader, you also have to take the lead. You also have to help direct us in the path that you want to go. You know, so that's what I love doing.
So you've known athletes your whole life. You grew up
Yes.
with an athletic father or an athlete father, and you've immersed yourself in the field of
Yeah.
volleyball and other athletics, it sounds
Yes.
like. So what is your advice to parents, or what do you see as sort of the hallmarks of a child who has what it takes to push themselves a little bit, or to take seriously whatever it is they want to follow?
It takes focus, commitment, and integrity. You know.
And how can parents support those skill sets?
By telling your child you love them every day, by giving them a hug whenever they want a hug, and to be balanced with them.
What does that look like, being balanced?
That means when we come home from work, we stop for 2 minutes and have our conversation to find out what our child did, and then what they want to do tomorrow to plan for the future of their goal, whether it be a Stanford scholarship or a UH Wahine scholarship. You know, having them go outside and touch the ball. You know, having them go outside and do their push-ups and sit-ups. You know, balancing the homework and academia. You know, having time for their friends and having time for their family. That's what I see. And going out there and the community service has been great, you know, because it shows them and gives them that priceless feel of, I really truly serviced someone today. Or serviced a purpose. Yeah. So.
The community outreach piece has been very important to you.
Yes. Yes. And the reason is because we as a community haven't been a community for a long time. You know, I want to bring the old school community back, meaning everyone takes care of everyone. It's not about, I'm going to buy all the water because the hurricane's coming to make sure that my family is okay. I'm going to buy water so that I can share with my elderly neighbor, or I can make sure that auntie has water, or grandma. You know, again, it's hooning together. You know, if it's always being selfish, then nobody really gains, right? But when we all chip in to grow our community together and learn from each other, that's when we all truly become stronger. And then from that, it impacts everyone else. So, yeah.
Yeah, and just thinking it in terms of a very simplistic, what just crossed my mind was, if you are not engaged in your community, when you become a great volleyball player, there will be no one there to watch you play.
Yeah.
So if nothing else, right? I mean, you need to be a part of your community, because ultimately your community needs to hold you up and support you in whatever you're going to go out and do.
Yeah.
Which is, I know, not the reason why you want to give to your community, because it has to be selfless, right? Otherwise it doesn't work.
Right.
But there is a really nice give and take that comes when you have a healthy community.
Yes.
Everybody
Responsibility and accountability, right? And being humble. Yeah. Yeah.
Being humble is so important, especially if you are great at something, right? Because it's very easy to get on your high horse, especially in a small community where we look up to our celebrities and our athletes.
Right.
Okay, believe it or not, we're almost out of time.
Okay.
I told you this would go by very quickly. So to people watching who have children, I mean, this is not just about girls, but you know, girl volleyball is near and dear to my heart, and I believe that there's so much focus in our community or in our world about boy athletes and boy athletics, and so we do know now that unfortunately so much more of the resource and the focus and the attention tends to be on boys in sports. And we're fighting that, and you know, people are speaking up, and there's more and more equality in the genders and in sports, thanks to Title IX and other endeavors. But so not to cut the boys out of volleyball, because boy volleyball is just as important. But today we're talking about girls in volleyball. So final thoughts as an athlete and as somebody who's raising a daughter who's a great athlete also, and
thank you.
To parents who are watching. I guess athletics are important, right? I mean, it creates a well-rounded, healthy person who can support themselves in old age, you know, with physical health if they're starting young, right?
Right.
But your final thoughts on how do we raise the best future athletes, well-rounded citizens we can?
Teaching them kindness. Teaching them integrity, teaching them character is a reflection of their foundation and their family. Holding them accountable and responsible for the choices that they make. And most importantly, just loving them. That's the most important thing. Don't forget to hug your kids. Don't forget to tell them that you love them. Even after there's an argument or after they do something wrong.
Especially after. Right.
You hug and kiss and you say, I love you.
Love is not conditional if you're a parent.
Correct.
We don't want our kids to ever feel that it's conditional upon them behaving well or achieving greatness on the court or whatever.
Right. And just doing the right thing. You know in your heart what's the right thing. Just doing the right thing.
So modeling the good behavior.
Yes.
And don't you think that as parents also we have to get out there and be athletic ourselves?
Absolutely. We got to keep up with the young ones.
Right.
Yeah.
And show them, that if you start early, you'll love it for the rest of your life.
Right.
And that gives you a nice community too, right?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
So you can't be like an armchair, like
No.
you go out and do your push-ups and I'm going to sit here and...
No, because they call you out on it.
They do. They're like so smart. They like see it and know it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the time has gone so
Okay.
quickly, just hearing all these wonderful things you have to say. And I hope that watching you today, people will be inspired to, if they have kids in their lives, get out and support them in athletic endeavors.
Yes.
Be a bigger part of the community.
Yes.
Reach out to a volleyball club if their child is even
And just let your
remotely
child
interested.
be their unique self.
Let
That's
your
it.
child be their unique self.
Yeah.
Great words
Yeah.
to live by.
Thank you.
Thank you. This has been another wonderful episode of It's All About the Keiki. Thank you so much to my very special guest today, Coach Perlas Bardouche, and the fabulous people here at Olelo Communications, my wonderful director, Taylor Patrick. Until next time, this is Kristine Altwies. Aloha.